Welcome to Nomad Media, Automotive Tales, where we tell vehicle stories, a little bit of history, and some unique and personal experiences. Let's get right into it. All right, for today we have Brandon Hornbuckle and his 1969 Dodge Charger. And if you can't tell, we got a General Lee here on us, man. This thing is so cool. Like, I grew up watching the Dukes of Hazzard, absolutely love it. You know, it's one of those things, it's like, I don't know how many people don't know what this car is from, you know?
Yeah.
And it gets some hate, regrettably, but for the most part, this is what I love, and I love seeing these things, man. And I know that you're driving it and things like that, and I know you got some stuff in store for it here in the near future. But dude, tell us about this. How did you come about it, and like tell us your stories with it. Like what all have you done with this car?
Well, man, first of all, thank you for having me on here. Of course, we're all car guys here, or me and you.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you know, this car started with me when around 4 or 5 years old. I would get up in the mornings and pretty early. He-Man come on at 5 o'clock in the morning, and shortly thereafter, an episode of Dukes of Hazzard would come on, and you know, I was just dumbfounded, I guess is the word. I mean, kind of speechless, even as a kid, of what was going on with this car. I mean, it was so mighty, you know. I mean, they was jumping, running from the law. I mean, it was just iconic, you know. You know, and then later years, you know, as I got older, you know, the show would come on, I think, at 3:30 in the afternoon or something, you know. And again, just watching the show, and then you fast forward, you know, 10 years when you're getting to be teenagers, and you start thinking, I think all of us guys think about a toy that we would love to have, you know, and you know, when we grow up, and this was this car for me. I've wanted other things. I've had a lot of different cars in my life. I've built rat rods. I've been in the mud racing scene. All of that stuff, and it was fun and it was great. But I have not had the satisfaction of owning something that I never thought I would own. It was a dream, and now I do. You know, in my life, I've never really had a vehicle that, when you want just as something simple as go to the gas station and everybody stops what they're doing.
Yep.
That's this car. You know, like you said, there's some more plans for it down the road. And maybe we'll get to do an interview when that comes around.
Well, definitely, I do want to come back, and one of those things that we've talked about a little bit here, I do want to touch on it just a little bit. So I hope I'm not derailing
Oh,
here.
no,
But like,
no.
the General Lee is like so iconic. There's a huge fan base for the General Lee out there, and you know, some people like they almost don't want you to own it if it's not perfect, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
it's I only want to touch on that just because it's like, man, drive what you drive. Drive your car how you have it. Like, don't let anyone else dictate how you feel about your car. But, you know, just want to throw that out there too.
Well, and you know, man, I'm not interrupting you, but
No,
you know,
good.
it's just like Bo Duke himself said on an interview I seen. Your General Lee is your General Lee.
Yep.
Now, like my car, touching on that subject, is I wanted this car to be period correct. Because that's what I grew up watching. You know, when I got this car, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But when I've searched for one of these cars for years and never could afford one. The first 69 Charger I found in my life in this area of Somerville, Alabama, was less than 15 minutes from where we're sitting right now.
Okay.
And the car was a factory numbers matching, 440, console shift, rotten as could be. But I could have bought that car for $1,500.
Okay, so this wasn't any time recent.
This
then.
has been 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I mean, I couldn't have found $1,500 if I'd have robbed the bank. You know, I didn't have the money.
So wait, you're telling me you didn't fish this out of a river?
No, this thing didn't come out of the river. Most definitely not. You know, and I looked at a lot of these cars, and the same goes, and we touched on some money value of cars earlier before we got on camera here. I mean, to buy one of these cars, it takes a bunch of money.
Yeah.
I mean, not just a couple hundred, but several $1,000s to.
And you really need to love it too, because these old cars, so I haven't quite got to release this yet, and I've been hinting at it forever now, but hopefully the first episode will be up by the release of this one. But there's a new series coming to my channel as well, that's going to be touching on some of those facts about old cars and ownership, just pros and cons and things like that with the owners themselves, so that you can hear from their experiences what they've went through. But these old cars as well, not just the upfront like investment, you also have to like invest time and like know-how. If you don't know how to do it, finding people to work on these things, it's not the easiest thing to do on old cars anymore, because but yeah,
I mean, because that kind of went away, you know. I mean, now we drive cars that are throwaway. You know, I mean, that's what they're built for, is to drive them and get 100, 200,000 miles on them and throw them away.
Yep.
You know, I mean, when this car was built, it was meant to last, because it probably cost $2,600 new when it was bought as a brand new car. And then, you know, we are here today where you can't buy, I mean, the cheapest car you can buy is probably $30,000, $40,000.
Yep.
And it's good for maybe 5 years for a family of 4. But, you know, to get back to the car here and what we're talking about, and I'm not wanting to sound biased by no means, and I'm telling everybody this, excuse me, is I'm not just one Charger fan. I'm the General Lee fan.
Okay.
You know, I like all Chargers. I like all muscle cars. And going back to the story that I was telling earlier, there's no other muscle car, rat rod, mud truck I've had, any that I've seen, that I could ever lay in the bed at night and say, well, I'm going to have one of them one day. But it always fell back to the General Lee. I want one of them one day. That was my want. This is my want. It don't have to be everybody else's want, but it's my want.
Yeah.
You know, it's as simple as like this morning. My daughter, she's 13. She said, Dad, how about a ride to school in the General Lee? And I said, you really want to go in it today? And she said, yeah. So what car dads do, they go out, crank her car up, let it warm up, and they carry their little girl to school. And I'm going to tell you what, man, it was so cool to me to see my little girl's reaction of everybody stopping, the principal run out of the school and taking pictures of it and put it on the school's website.
And that was today?
That was today. That was this morning at 7:30.
That's awesome. I expect to see this in the newspaper here.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, there may be some more of these cars out here, but you know, it's like the first day that my son got to ride in this car. We went over down the road 2 miles to the gas station, gonna put fuel in it. And I mean, we're sitting at the stop sign trying to go across the road. There's people stopping in the middle of a busy highway taking pictures of the car. I mean, what other car I don't know of any other car that anybody would do that for.
Yeah, I can't say I do either. Like, the General Lee is definitely one of those cars, like thinking of other movie cars, just trying to think along that lines. I'm like, a lot of people know Fast and the Furious, and I don't think those cars are as recognizable
No,
as this
absolutely
one.
not.
I mean, yeah, the graphics are crazy on them and they bright colors and all that stuff, but when it comes down to like general recognition by the general people,
Yeah.
like it's like everybody knows the General Lee.
Yes, sir. And I mean, you go back to like the Bandit car, awesome car.
Okay, there's one that maybe, but I don't see, even me as a car guy, and I hope I don't get scared for saying this, but like I've actually never watched Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah,
And I know what the Bandit car is,
yeah.
but I have no idea like why it's.
Well, and I think you're amongst the other people in society that's done the same.
Hmm.
I mean, it's an iconic car. It was bad to the bone.
Hmm.
But if you had to start asking people in a crowd, I would like to see who the fan favorite would be. It's kind of like Michael Jordan or Larry Bird.
Yeah.
I mean, both greats, but which one is? I would just like to see that vote.
Yeah.
And I mean, you go back to the Ghostbuster car.
Yep.
The old hearse that they turned into or the Ghostbusters or whatever it was.
Hmm.
Iconic.
But that's not a car that
But
like just screams cool though
yeah,
either.
that's exactly right.
Ghostbusters is goofy.
Yeah.
It's like it's
Yeah.
goofy, it's cool, it has its crowd, but
Yeah.
I don't say goofy in a negative light.
Oh
but,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's
You're
like
exactly right.
it's a fun vehicle.
It's a
but
fun vehicle.
It's not. It doesn't just scream cool though.
No,
You
no,
know?
exactly. You're exactly right. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like, you're a Charger owner, and I mean, how many people has walked by and said, "Man, that car is the same car as the General Lee."
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I think I honestly get. I used to have one of these more than that
Yeah.
one, but like, yeah, I've had like is this the General Lee? I'm like, well, it's green.
yeah.
So, no, but
Well, and man, what's crazy, and I'm gonna go here in a minute in more detail how I come across this car
yeah,
and what made me get it and all of that. But we're talking about the money value earlier.
us here love the story, so go into it.
I have a guy that works for me. He's an older guy. He's in his 60s.
Mhm.
When I got this car, or actually before, he was telling me that he'd owned two '69 Dodge Chargers.
Mhm.
He'd owned a Roadrunner. He'd owned all these old muscle cars, that people are basically fist fighting over today.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, man, what happened to those cars? And he's like, well, my blue Charger, I mean, I sold it for $60.
Oh God.
He said, I had a yellow Charger that was really nice, and I traded it to my brother, and he gave me $600. Then people didn't think of these cars what they're thought of now. Just
Yeah.
in those short years ago. I mean, before mine and your time, I'm 41.
Mhm.
So, I mean, even before my time or when I was a baby, when he had these cars, they wasn't worth a whole lot of money.
I'll say I think a lot of that's from YouTube.
That's
A lot of
exactly
it's
right.
from YouTube. We'll go into a different conversation off camera on
Yeah.
that one,
But, to get back to the car and finding the car that I wanted to buy, we started talking to people, some high-end restoration builders.
Mhm.
Because me owning the company that I own, I don't have a lot of time to work on stuff.
Mhm.
And I wanted something that was ready now.
Mhm.
I wanted a change. I wanted something that I could put my mark on a little bit, but I didn't have to pay for it up front. I guess I'm saying, but my little marks I could put on it at home.
Mhm.
And so that's the way I wanted to go. So I started calling some of these people, in Florida. There's some in Ohio, up in the northern states. And man, I was just astonished what they was asking for these cars.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I said, I'm just never going to be able to have one. And I mean, and I was at a point in my life to where I could finally afford one, I thought. I mean, I was finally at a point in my life where everything was just, the stars was aligning.
Right.
And So I just kind of shut up about it for a couple of weeks, and now this is a lifetime hunt. Now I mean seriously,
Right.
and
Because you
so I just
started at the Sunday or Saturday
yeah,
morning.
yeah, I started it Saturday morning at 4 years old, staying with my grandma,
Yeah.
and so what she thought it was the silliest bunch of mess. That's what she'd say. You don't need to watch that silly mess. But I mean, once you come on, you just sit there and watched it.
Well, I'll say, not to bash your grandmother at all. This is just people in general. A lot of people don't understand obsessions with cars.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I mean, I
agree.
call it an obsession too. I mean, it is a total addiction
Yeah.
when you get into them and things like that. Like, once you're in, you're in. Like, and I mean, it's probably it's probably the worst addiction in the world.
Yes. Yes,
Only thing worse,
absolutely right.
only thing worse than drugs, but it won't kill you.
Well, and
Hopefully.
I mean, and to touch on that real quick is, I don't know of, since I've had this car. I've had this car for 2 months, I guess.
Hmm.
In 2 months, there's 2 nights I've not touched it.
Hmm.
It's an addiction,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I think car people, and you may share this, and y'all that's watching may can agree to this. We're attention to detail.
Hmm.
And I think that follows us from our careers to our hobbies. If we was bass fishermen, we would probably be spending $100,000 a year bass fishing,
Hmm.
because we would want the latest greatest stuff. Just like in my General Lee, I want the latest greatest stuff.
Hmm.
I never want to compromise this car from not being the General Lee. I'm not, and I'll just say this to the camera, to you, and to anybody. I'm never putting one of these later model motors in it. I mean, I'm never going to all that electronic stuff. Do I love it? Yes, I think it's cool, but not in the General Lee, because that's not the General Lee. So, going back to the car,
Hmm.
I don't want to make people mad by saying I don't like all this electronic stuff and all that. It's not that. I think it's absolutely cool.
Hmm.
Not for the General Lee. I mean, I don't want to sound biased or that it's better than one or the other. The General Lee was the General Lee.
Yep.
Um, you know,
Well, and to touch on that a little bit too, so we'll go over what I kind of do after the interview, but the touching on that too, when you put all those electronics in an old car, there's no guarantee they're going to work right.
yeah,
And they're, like I've already mentioned, it's already hard to get someone to work on one of these,
yes,
much less one that is someone's basket case.
yes,
Not that yours would be, or not that anyone's is, but like once you start changing out a lot of that, you said keep it period correct. Hey, that's a definitely good way to go if you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
Which you say you're busy, so not that you couldn't, it's just you don't have time.
yeah,
But it's one of those things, if you're going to do it, it needs to be something that you love first, and you need to learn to do it yourself. Like if you're going to go that route with an old car, putting something modern in it. Like
yes,
do it yourself, because if not, your already money pit of a vehicle that we
Yeah.
love, that we all love here, is going to be even more of a money pit because you don't know what's going on.
yes.
So
Well, and it's like, when I got this car, of course, it didn't have a radio in it.
Mhm.
Did I want to go to a department store and buy just a CD player off shelf? No, absolutely not.
Mhm.
I wanted a period correct 69 Charger radio.
Mhm.
That's what I got.
Yep.
The most thing about this car to me is, when I say period correct, this antenna that's on this car, it's a Radio Shack antenna. Just like was on the General Lee and in the episodes and on the show. I know I'm gonna terrorize his name here, but I think it's John Cons or something like that. Um, he is a stunt man. He jumps these General Lees all over the country. He is like the wizard on the General Lee car. He's the one that fabricates these antennas now. That was a must-have for me. These cars in the Dukes of Hazzard, they had a 78X either a 77 or a 78X Cobra CB in them. Most of them had the 78X. That was, I guess, the big deal back then.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to put just a regular CB in it. I wanted that CB. Man, I searched, and so I was searching for a CB before I found the car.
Mm-hmm.
I found one and put it in the car. I found the CB 3 weeks ago. I put the CB in the car last week. Of course, it didn't work. And I'm going to tell you and everybody on the camera, shout out to the CB place in Huntsville, Alabama. I carried that thing up there in about 35 minutes. They had it brand new, and I was walking out there to come put it in the General Lee.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one of the things to me that when General Lee lovers and enthusiasts see this car, they can look in there and say, my gosh, it's got the CB in there that it was supposed to have.
Yep.
You know, and I'll tell you this car is not only symbolizing it's the General Lee for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, my mother passed away 3 years ago, June 9th. And, you know, Mom told me at 25 years old when I was just foaming at the mouth that I was going to have one of these cars, you know, and she said, son, with hard work, you may have one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a dang shame that I can't take my mom for a ride in it. And,
Yeah.
you know, that, and this ain't about that, but what I'm getting at with this is this car is not just about the General Lee for me. It shows hard work, dedication, and family. This is something that everybody in my family, my wife, my daughter, and my son can get into, and we can go do something together as a family. That's a big deal to me.
Man, that gives me chills too. Like you can't see it, but it's like I got the goosebumps.
Well, and it does me too. And, you know, and I kind of feel like, not that I was a mama's boy or anything like that, but it kind of gives me the feel of not just the Dukes, but the Dukes Hazzard was a family too.
Yeah.
They done everything together. Mm-hmm. They had good times and they had bad times. My family's the same way. The people on camera's family's the same way. Your family's the same way. Mm-hmm. But when you can lock something in to where all of your family can enjoy something, and it's a car, and y'all can get happiness out of it, that means the world to me. But, you know, going back, and we've been all over the place on this, but, you know, going back to the car, I talked to a car collector, or whatever you want to call him in Florida. He was redoing a totally new General Lee, nut and bolt restoration. I was fixing to pull the trigger on it, and then he told me the price. No way. Sorry, bud. And so for 2 weeks, I just shut up about it. My wife said, well, I ain't heard nothing about the car lately. It's just not going to happen. Well,
Can't give up on it.
well, you know, I said, I'm just going to calm down. I'm going to take a breath. I'm just going to calm down. Well, about 2 weeks went by. I'm online one night. I mean, my nights I get on Marketplace and see what kind of junk's on there, you know, because I like junk. And I kind of start looking at stuff, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to search for General Lee. Well, I type in, the first thing that comes up is this website for this car dealer. I just scroll on past it, you know. I mean, that's a car dealer. Who wants to fool with a car dealer?
Whatever you do, don't mention the car dealer. So.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to do that. You know, there was this car dealer, you know, and I said, oh, I ain't dealing with a car dealer. I want somebody that's as broke as I am, you know. And, well, I keep searching. There's nothing. And I catch myself, and I'm scrolling back down on my phone, and there's this dealer again. And I said, well, shoot, I'm just going to text message him. And, well, I text messaged this number and didn't get anything. The next day, I had a message. Hey, can I call you? The guy calls me super excuse me, super nice guy. Says, man, I'm gonna put you in touch with the guy that built all the Warner Brothers cars. Wow.
Whoa.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I mean, he's got one car that's nearly ready. Wow. Thanks, man. So he gives me the guy's number. I'm not gonna mention his name.
Yeah.
Gives me the guy's number. I call him. And at first, as everybody can tell, I'm from Somerville, Alabama, and I'm as country as they come. I'm talking to a guy that I can't understand nothing he's saying. and he probably feels the same way about me. But we start talking, and he's like, man, look, this is what I've got. Y'all, this is a big deal to me. And he has built over 800 General Lees. If he don't have a resume, nobody does.
You can mention the builder's name if you know that. So.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
But he's built over 800 of these things.
Yeah. So he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah.
This isn't some
jack leg.
Some Joe Blow.
This is the real deal machine.
Yeah.
And so me and him get talking, man, and I just like the guy. He's cussing and raising hell, and and I'm like, this dude's pretty cool,
Real question: he praised Dale, raising hell. He praised Dale.
Yeah, well, that's right. But he kind of, we talked through some things, and sent a lot of pictures, a lot of talking, and we kind of finally made a deal. And something that's impressive, and you said something earlier about, or we did both, about addiction to cars.
Mm-hmm.
And you, man, and folks that's watching, if you think that these cars is just something, not just a General Lee, but a Charger that's just dime a dozen and people's just raising the price because they want to, that's an absolute lie.
Yeah.
This guy that has a resume 4 miles long, he told me out of his own mouth that, he travels the world looking for Chargers. He said used to he would rent a motel room at night, and go stay. He said, man, these cars are getting so hard to find. I don't even rent a motel room no more. When I go to these swap meets and big car shows and stuff like that, at the entrance, I park my truck and that's where I sleep. Because somebody may come in with something. And I want to be able to find out what it is. Man, that's past addiction. That may be crazy. But, something about the guy that built this car, and I'm going to praise him a little bit, is this is what he does. Nothing else.
That's his dream, though.
That's his dream.
That's his American dream.
That's his American dream, is building a General Lee.
And he's living it.
And he's living every aspect of it.
Oh, yeah.
And, is there some things on this car that I wish that it had when I got it? Absolutely so. But this is a freaking Warner Brothers car, man.
Yeah, it's the way they would have been.
Who gives a crap? It's my General Lee, as Bo Duke said.
Yeah.
I'm
sure you're driving the wheels off of it like they did.
Well, and you know what?
Maybe not sideways, but
well, that's exactly right. And I get joked all the time, and I'm gonna touch on this in just a second too. Is I get all stuff. What hill you gonna jump? Absolutely none.
Yeah, none.
None. Absolutely none.
Because that single that frame, it don't stay in one. It don't stay unbent when you.
that's exactly right. It's every car is special. Your hot rods that you're working on are special to you.
Oh yeah.
Does it make you feel good when people come up and say, "Hey man, that's a badass ride, dude"? Absolutely.
Yes.
But really and truly, we don't give a crap what each other thinks about our car.
Definitely not. And that's where I'm glad you said that, because yes, I have a Charger. It is a car that most people are going to like. like just in general, if people like Chargers. But it's like, dude, if I had a Honda Civic, I don't care what you think about it or what he thinks about it. If I love my car, I love my car.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I'm gonna sum that up for you, and everybody on that's watching can laugh, and you can laugh or whatever. Nowadays I'm 6'5", weigh 300 plus pounds. I've got fat, and I don't care. But at one time in my life, I drove a Geo Metro.
Hey.
You know what? That was the coolest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because it got 45 miles a gallon.
That is your car.
And it was my car. Make fun of it all you want to.
Probably paid off too.
What are you driving? I mean, you're driving that big diesel truck over there that you're getting 5 miles a gallon. Guess what? I'm able to put money in the bank, and that's my car. Yep. I paid for it, not you, not it. And it rolls over into these hot rods too.
Yep.
You know, and you know, I'm excited to see what the future holds for me and my family in this car. You know, and I don't know if I need to say this now, but I'm going to. I'm actually going to start doing weddings. I'm going to start doing birthday parties, corporate events, photo sessions.
You've got the car. You can use it as an asset.
Yes, sir.
So that's one thing. I'm glad you mentioned it. I mean, if you want it out later, just let me know. But it's a car is an asset. Like, it is an investment. It is something that you have to factor in. Like, there's a cost associated with it. Like, if you can do stuff like that with this car, which yeah, you can. You know, it's a General Lee.
Yeah.
People love it. It's like, why would you not help offset the cost of ownership?
Yeah.
Like that's just smart, you know?
Well, and you're exactly right. And I think that's where we fail. I'm not I'm not a car show guy. Do I like going to car shows? Absolutely.
I love going to car shows,
you
but
know,
I don't care about winning.
I mean, when I was mud racing, you know, at one time, you know, I had the Tennessee and Georgia state record, fastest time in mud racing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I loved it as well as anybody, man. I slept, eat, and breathed it. I would carry my mud truck to the car show just so people would say, hey, that's badass. You know, that's what I had.
Yeah.
You know, that's freaking cool, man. I heard you from a mile away.
And that's where, with car guys, too, I tell you, that's probably one of the addictions that you can really just share with anybody, whether they like it or not. And it doesn't matter what you have either. Like, you bring it to a car show, bring what you got. Like,
yeah,
most
that's
of the
right.
True car guys are going to be like, yo, your style's cool as crap. It might not be my style, but boy, do I respect it. Well, that is a cool car.
Yes, sir. You know. Me and you went to an event a couple of weekends ago, raising money for a little girl. Mm-hmm. Great thing. Yeah, I heard that little car show made that family $7,000, I think. Great deal, man. That's the kind of stuff I like to be a part of, because you're making a difference with something that you love. Mm-hmm. But when we was at that car show, you know, there was people coming up looking at this car, looking at your car, looking at all of them. Everybody has their favorites. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden you heard these two little boys, oh my gosh. Well, they're 5, 6, 8 years old. Well, no, they're probably 8 or 9 years old, 7 to 9 years old. Mm-hmm. And they come straight to this car. They run through 100 cars, come straight to this car. And I'm just sitting there smiling from ear to ear, you know.
Oh, yeah. That is one of the things you love to see it when people love your car. Like I said, if even if it's not everybody's style, you know, it's like, hey, there's somebody there that appreciates you for bringing it to
that's exactly right. And what I'm getting at is those little boys, I was like, you like that car, son? And he's like, man, I seen that thing on a movie. And I was like, yeah, you did. And he's like, Daddy, take our picture, take our picture. Mm-hmm. And I was like, he took her picture, and I was like, hey, son, come here.
You got a minute, right?
Yeah. And I said, hey, son, come here.
I hope I didn't,
No. And I was like, son, come here. And he's like, what is it? And his dad and this other little boy, I don't know if it was his brother or a friend, followed him over there. And I'm like, hey, would you like to sit in that General Lee?
I remember them, I think.
And he's like, oh my gosh. And he's just like, just staring in space, you know, and he looks at his dad, and his dad just kind of shrugs his shoulders. And I said, son, I asked you, do you want to sit in that car? And he said, you mean it? And I was like, yeah. So you know what? I got up out of my chair, opened the door, a little boy sat in there. Both of them did. Got their picture took. That means something, man.
Yeah.
You know,
That fosters the next generation.
That's exactly right. And it's not.
Which is partially what these videos are for, too.
Yes.
Like, because, like, what you don't hear are people's stories with cars. Like, and that's why I come out here and do these things. Not to make anything about me here, just talking about Automotive Tales.
Yeah.
Like, you don't regularly hear people's stories unless you go to car shows. You know, and then you also have to be willing to give that person, 30 minutes to an hour?
Yeah.
It takes me probably half the car show to get 10 feet away from my car.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to talk to people about doing this.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm different than some people, but it's like, I will sit there and talk your ear off if you're
Yeah.
giving me your ear.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want people to talk my ear off, tell me their story.
Yeah. Well, and you know,
Foster that next generation
yeah,
so they
that's-
hear the good.
that-
not
and-
just,
and you know, man, that's what I'm getting at is, you know, with the car show guys and people with old cars, share them.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that I'm going to let somebody crawl through the window of this car. Absolutely not. You're not doing it. You're not going to hood slide it. You're not doing all of that.
yeah.
But
Not
if
even
I
John
could-
Snyder.
maybe so. That would be pretty badass. I mean, that would be badass. And I hope you don't cut the word out badass. But to me is I think we ought to share. I mean, what I mean by that is if little Johnny comes up and he wants to sit in your car and get his, what's he going to hurt?
Yeah, not a thing.
I'm not saying, I don't want anybody rubbing their hands down my car. I don't want no people putting fingerprints all over them because I do that enough and I have to wash it. And you do the same. But guys, share your cars. Share your passion. And girls.
Share them in the sense of like, hey, don't be afraid of like getting the kids involved in some way. Like,
That's exactly right.
He's not saying let someone take your
No, don't let them
your
drive
general
it.
out somewhere. Like just, you know, get them involved.
Get
in some
them
way.
involved.
Like, let them sit in it. Let them hit the horn. Because generally, I know it's got the horn, the
Yeah,
Dixie horn.
well, yeah.
So it's like, you know, let them hit the horn. Let them play with it. Like, you know, they're not going to hurt these things, especially older ones.
Oh,
These
no.
are made of metal.
Oh,
man.
yeah,
They ain't
yeah.
going to break it. They ain't going to break it, you know.
Well, and you know, it's funny you said horns, man. I want you to, well, no, I'm not going to say to guess because you'll probably get it. But the most asked question about this car, pretty simple. Not what size motor it got in it, man. What transmission you got? What
Does it got the horn?
does it have the horns?
Now, mine, on the other hand, is asked, what size engine you got?
Yeah, yeah, but this car, do you have the horns? We're driving down from leaving Mopars in the park the other day. We're driving down Huntsville, and we're coming back. I mean, and had a great time up there. That was the coolest weather that we've had all summer.
That's my second round at it. So.
And
Which reminds me, your car is going to be featured in my upcoming episode. of it,
Okay,
too.
awesome,
So
man.
that'll be tagged in the description as well. So if you get to this video first, go watch that one next.
awesome,
That one will be a car show video, so it won't be as long. It's not talking. It's just showing off cars. So,
good deal. But you know, we're going down the road right there on Memorial Parkway, and we're right past Walmart on South Parkway.
Mhm.
And we're leaving that red light, and we go up through there, and there's this guy, he's probably 50, 60 years old, pulls up beside me, and I just kind of look over, you know, because in this car, unfortunately, you never know what kind of gestures you're going to get
Yep.
in the society we live in.
Yep.
And I want to, if I can, I want to touch on that in a minute.
Okay.
But-
Just before, let me know when.
Okay. We're driving down through there, and I kind of look over, and this guy's like, "Hey, hey, hey," and he's like, "You got the horns?" And I was like, "Yes," and he's like, "Blow them things one time." You know, I don't know if the horns just ain't as iconic as the freaking car. You
Well, it
know,
also helps we live in Alabama.
well, yeah, that's
That helps
exactly
out a
right.
lot too.
That's exactly right. You know, and I'm going to say this:
We're in Dixieland.
this car represents a whole lot to me,
It means a whole lot to a lot of people.
to a lot of people, and it it wasn't just a bunch of rednecks playing, and it was, but to some people it was a way of life. You know, I bought my son a new car for graduation. You know, and
Your son will be featured on here at some point as soon as he gets his truck running again.
and you know, I didn't do that to flaunt that I had money. I done that because while he was growing up, you know, I worked construction. I worked on a farm. Didn't have a whole lot of money. We didn't have a whole lot of something, of nothing. If you want to know the truth, we was living day to day, folks. I mean, it's just the facts.
Family never let you know it though.
Yeah. I mean, we was living just as poor as anybody could live. And you know, I was in a situation to when my son graduated that, you know, I was wanting to buy him a new truck. You know, I mean, man, he needs a new truck. You know, I mean, he's gonna go off to college and needs something good to drive. You know, well, it was gonna be a surprise, and I finally asked him to go. And again, this is family going to look at cars, and so we go look at a new truck. Well, Dad, I'd love to have a truck, but if I had a car, and I said, well, you want to go look at a sports car? And he said, man, yeah. Well, just for your knowledge and everybody's knowledge watching, I didn't want to be the dad that bought their car or a kid a car that was a 6-cylinder.
Oh no. Oh no.
I mean, he wants to hear that thing putting up when you come. You buy a sports car, you want something real. You want the sports car.
You gotta have either the V8 if it's American made, or the Dixie horn.
Yeah,
You gotta have one or the
you're
other.
Right, you're right. You're
the
right.
V8 or the Dixie horn.
And you know, we went down to the Dodge place, and when he got out of the car, the first thing out of his mouth was, I love those Challengers. I wonder if they have an orange V8. And I said, I don't know, let's ask them. There are no V8s in the country orange. And I said, well, son, I guess, he said, well, look at that car in the showroom. So we go in there, and I don't know what it is. I can't lie to nobody. It's pretty cool, but it's a number of so many of them that was made, with the package and the color and all that stuff, whatever it is. And that's what he got for graduation. And when he got it, when I give him that car, how the '69 Charger generally, especially, has been in our life, the backstory of that is when I give it to him at his graduation party, the first thing he said when he walked to the front of it, he said, Dad, that thing looks just like a '69 Charger in the front end. And I said, yeah, and you know, you rewind, let's say he's 18, 11, 12 years ago, the only vacation I ever carried him on was to Cooters, because that's all we could afford to do. I mean, he got to sit in the General Lee, and I mean, he's been very passionate about the General Lee, and I mean, just loved it. And I guess because father and son shared alike, you know. And to him, I hope one day when he gets to be 41, maybe he'll still have that car, and it will mean to me what this car means to me, or his car will mean to him what this car means to me.
Hopefully.
You know, I mean, hopefully so.
Or maybe he'll pick one up someday too.
Well, you know,
hopefully he works as hard as you have.
Well, yeah, that's right.
You know, hopefully works as hard as you have, so that he can go out and buy either General Lee or hopefully no time soon inherit one.
yeah. Well, that's probably gonna be a fight between him and his sister.
Or maybe, since he asked about an orange Challenger, maybe turn that Challenger into one.
Well, what's so funny is, and we talked on it earlier, was was talking about putting the new style motors and all that stuff in this car.
Yep.
It's kind of funny. He was leaving his car here in the carport in the house,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because he don't live here. He lives with his mother. And when I got this car, his car come up gone. And I said, well, why'd you take? Oh, I just wanted to carry it over there. I cleaned out a spot in my garage for it. And I was like, okay, son. Well, the truth come out. About 2 weeks later, he said, I scared to death you was going to take the motor out of it and put it in that General Lee. I said, well, I don't think it's that easy, son, but it would be cool. But I mean, we're not doing that. We're not going to do that.
Right.
But you know,
So that's the story behind why he asked me if I knew where 440 was. It wasn't to help you out.
Yeah,
It's to help him out.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. You know, and that's something that I'm not going to hide with this car. I think that you had kind of mentioned something about it earlier. There is going to be some changes with this car.
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody to guess what that is.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, it's going to be a pretty significant change.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't let anything out of the bag.
Yeah, you're right. It did.
It's going to be great. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There again, and I'm going to say this, and then we can kind of turn the page and go to something else, because I would like to talk about this car and what it does, what it stands for, in my opinion.
Okay.
Before we started talking today and filming this, is I had 3 guys with me that's been about 12 to 15 years before we was since we have hung out and have been passionate about the same thing. And we went today and was looking for certain things for this car.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, full circle. This thing is bringing back old friends back around to one another. We're working on this thing. No money is being transferred from hand to hand between us. We're sweating over this car because we're sharing a bond together. We're sharing a love together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what these cars bring to people. You find new friends. You find people. You bring people together. I think, to me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's one thing that gets lost a lot too.
Yeah. So, you know, like I said earlier, this is a General Lee. Mm-hmm. It's got a Confederate flag. It's got the numbers on the side. Folks, remember, you're driving down the road, remember those TV episodes. Blow the horn at it. Mm-hmm. Let's have a good time. That's what it represents to me. This whole car represents that time of jumping hills, mm-hmm. running from the law, stuff that I wish I could do right now if I got in it.
Doing it sideways.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to say this real quick. I actually forgot about it, I'm going to shut up. I've actually found a legit Hazard County police car. Mm-hmm. That may be coming down the line some point in time.
Well, be sure you have me back for that, please. And when you get some more stories under your belt too, I want to hear them all, man.
Oh yeah, man.
I want to hear the story. I want to hear your journey with the General Lee.
Yeah, and this I feel honored for you to ask me, man. I really do, because this is kind of heartfelt for me.
Yeah.
Never in my life would I thought I'd have been able to have this car.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, man, that is awesome story. I love all the points you made and everything, and I'm glad you're willing to talk about them. How about we get into hearing this thing run, and let's get to hear that iconic Dixie horn.
Absolutely, man.
All right. All right, there you have it, folks. Brandon Hornbuckle with his 1969 Dodge Charger, General Lee, of course. Man, it's so cool, this car. Like, I don't know anyone that wouldn't love the General Lee. I know I love it. If I could have one someday, maybe. I'm probably going to hunt me down another Charger, but I don't know. Maybe someday I'll have me one. I'll probably have to make mine, though. You know, I'll probably have to make mine. Mine will probably be more modernized than yours, but...
Yeah.
But with that, like, is there anything you would like to say to the audience?
Well, I mean, again, and I'm gonna go off kilter here, but thank you for having me. Everybody that is car guys, I mean, like we said earlier, whether it's a Geo Metro or whatever, y'all sign up and share your story. I think this is a great deal. I think it's great for the general public to be able to get on and kind of get bits and pieces of people's life stories.
Yeah.
And for their cars. You know, and also, I mean, like he said, my name's Brandon Hornbuckle. I'm the CEO, business owner, whatever you want to say, of Southern Style Barns. We're located right here in Somerville, Alabama. Basically, we cover anything from anything you want to do with a post frame structure or pole barn. We manufacture steel trusses. We own a lumber yard. We actually we already run our own metal for your own metal roof at your own house. Your the DIY people out. Any of y'all want to do your own things at home? We sell direct to the public. Pretty good business here. We've been in business September 23rd will be 19 years. But been doing this a long time. All of our trusses are engineered drawed. So that means we have an engineer stamp drawings. This is, I mean, it's above the board, if you would say. You know, also, I have a cattle operation called Hornbuckle Cattle. We specialize in show cattle. We show from right here in Coleman, Alabama, all the way to Louisville, Kentucky. I've got, like I said earlier, my 13-year-old daughter. She shows, and we show cattle calves to people that's going to be showing. That's not a big money maker for us, but we do it just to kind of compensate what we do. And lastly, I am going to be getting up a Facebook page for the General. Like I said earlier, we're going to start doing weddings, you know, runaway bride type of thing, to drive the bride and groom away, birthday parties, you know, corporate events, photo sessions. We're going to be doing that kind of things with this car. We want to share it. And you know, that's not going to be free, of course.
Right.
But we haven't got that far of knowing pricing or anything like that. But you know, I do want to start getting that out that we are going to be doing that. We have a couple of locations here on the farm that we can set up photo shoots and stuff like that with the car, with the country background and stuff like that. But yeah, y'all stay tuned to this YouTube channel. Hopefully you'll come out and see me some more. Maybe next time we drag the old mud truck out, man.
Well, that's a show. Yeah. Yes. 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 It'll be in the next one.
And just to throw this out here, I mean, we're talking about a truck that started life as a Sonoma.
We're gonna leave that story.
Okay.
For that one.
Okay. Okay. Well, you're gonna see something that goes real fast in a short period of time.
That's exactly what we want to hear here, man. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to plug?
I don't, man. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. If you have any questions about the General Lee, get in touch with us. Be looking on Facebook for any of the upcoming events that we're going to be at. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or not, but I will be tomorrow. We will be at the Rocket City Octane show. Oh, that's not going to be.
Well, so
that's going to be later.
yeah, this is not going to be out in time.
That's
for
right.
that, so, but
That's right. Sorry.
yeah, no worries. No
But
worries.
get on Facebook and be looking for the General's page and see where we're going to be, different events we're going to be at, car shows, stuff like that. And if anybody needs a pole barn, shop, barn dominium, we're the people to come to.
And with that, everything that he's mentioned here and all of his business will be linked in the description below. You'll be able to find his Facebook page once it goes live, and all the other stuff will be down there so you can get in touch with him if you're interested in any of his services that he offers. But man, with that, I appreciate everything, dude. Thanks for taking so much time with me out here. Like, it's a General Lee, dude. Like, I'm a Dodge guy. Like, obviously, I have a Charger. I love it. This thing is so cool. Like, I never imagined I'd find someone with a General Lee that wants to interview with me or tell their story and stuff. But thank you for having me, man. I greatly appreciate it. And with that, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
See you at the next car show, okay?
There you have it, folks, the General Lee. Be sure you like, share, subscribe, and check out all of Brandon's links and everything in the bio or in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.